what does resilience really mean? What does it mean to be resilient? And I think we've got some ideas about that. According to Webster's, resilience is the ability to recover from or adjust to change. But I think there's a better way, the old way and the new way. So if we can reimagine this concept of resilience and open our minds a little bit, we can see that we've got a number of ways of reacting to change. And sometimes it's change that makes us wake up to say, hey, I need to be a little more resilient. But that's a reactive response, which makes us quite fragile because we might not have the resources in place at that time in order to react in a positive way. However, if we take a proactive approach, we can start edging into that anti-fragile system. And I'd like to suggest that resilience can now become the ability to anticipate, adjust, and even flourish in the face of change, to look at the waves, right? To ride the wave and start looking at where your weakest links are, not only in your food supply chain, but also in all of the other resources that you have available to you so easily today. So that brings us to this concept of resilience by design. And that's what I love about what we do with permaculture and the whole mindset behind that is because, resilience by design is very empowering. And, I worked for years with the Alberta government in the fields of forestry, sustainable land management, and primarily around ecosystem health and dynamics, and looking at all the bioregions in Alberta and finding out what makes those tick, and realizing how incredibly resilient natural ecosystems are. And applying those same principles to social ecosystems is equally awesome. But you can see the design that's embedded in these multiple stacked matrices of relationships. It's just mind-blowing how complex they are. And it's so complex, it makes it look simple. But if we can mimic those same strategies, we can design resilience into our lives. And that's why I love the permaculture lens. So these are some images from Rob and Michelle and Dakota's recent book, Building Your Permaculture Property, which I absolutely adore. And I really love this distinction between a degenerative model, a sustainable model, and a regenerative model. And if you've read Rob and Michelle's book, you'll have seen very similar explanations in here. The degenerative model, which is basically a downward spiral, which means that, based on the belief that human beings are better than mankind, or better than nature, and that we can meet all of our needs at the expense of everything else. So obviously that is not something that can be even sustained over the long term. And it's focusing on meeting our needs today without concern for the future. The sustainable model, which is, this great buzzword now, sustainability. It's really this aspect of doing less harm, of focusing on, almost maintaining status quo. Let's not do anything, more bad. Let's make sure that whatever we do is a little less bad. And it's based on the belief that human beings don't really have a right to exist on this earth, and that all we're doing is screwing everything up, that humans are actually worse than nature. The regenerative model, which resonates very deeply, I believe, with most people, and I imagine almost everyone in the summit today will agree with this model, based on the belief that we are nature, that we are conscious members, mindful members of a community of beings, of sentient beings working together for the well-being of all. And that's an important distinction, because it means that we have a vested interest in of course, meeting our needs today, but meeting our needs in the long term in a way that actually improves over time and provides more abundance and more resilience as time moves forward. So why permaculture? I think that I know that permaculture provides us with this comprehensive, methodical process and very positive solutions approach. That's what I love, the positive solutions approach for designing resilient, productive systems, for meeting our needs, guided by those core ethics of earth care, people care, and fair share. And that's the bottom line for me, is that there's this methodical process that is comprehensive, very, very, what's the word I'm thinking of? very contextual. And so that is what kind of separates the design process from the implementation process, that the tools and strategies that we will use to implement the design must be in context to your situation and your location on the planet. So that makes, guided with all these beautiful ethics and the principles of permaculture, we can design these incredibly resilient and abundant systems that meet not only our resource needs, but also our social needs. So I came up with this little slide for the PDC, in which we can take all of the things that are contextual to us and run them through this beautiful, permaculture coffee filter, and through the observation of patterns and flow and so on, we can distill those down into this delicious design. And what I've noticed, and certainly that all patterns, all energy, has patterns, and all patterns have flow. And that flow, all those patterns and flow will inform that actually you'll start to see properties emerge. And those properties will then help you design your site or your organization or your business or your social structures. So you get this emergent design. And that emergent design and those properties together are going to help inform your strategies and tools for actually implementing your design. So all energy has flow, all flow follows patterns, all patterns exhibit properties, and those are the properties that inform the appropriate strategies and tools. And so this is a very a simple process. Of course, the design process is much more complicated than this, but at its very base level, this is kind of where it's at. So when we look at linear systems, thinking and design, once we start to emerge out of that very limited way of thinking and start to embrace this holistic systems way of thinking, it's a new lens, we can easily transition from merely surviving to thriving. And that's where, that new definition of resilience comes into play. So our limited ability to solve problems, we get this evolution of the ability to turn challenges into opportunities.
We hope you enjoyed that snippet from the Verge live stream. If you want more, check us out at vergepermaculture.ca.